Okay. Looks like it's all you, Kelly. Would you like me to share my screen?
Oh, I'm chairing tonight?
Yeah,
Okay, alrighty. Yes, if you could share your screen, that would be great. Let's do our roll call then. Doug Case,
Here.
Kyle Tarbett,
here.
and Bruce Moorhead,
I'm here.
and Jennifer Fuchs.
I'm here.
All right. Did I get everybody there?
I believe so. I do need you to call it to order, please.
Okay, could you put the, oh, never mind. All right. Let's bring this meeting to order. And looks like I did the roll call already. And then let's go on to approving the agenda and the minutes from June 7th, please. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes from June 7th?
Motion to approve the minutes.
And do
You
we
can
have a
do-
second?
Second.
And all approve, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Okay, and so that covers us for that whole consent agenda portion, correct, Lisa?
Not the way the motion went.
Okay, I'm sorry.
The motion has to be for to approve the consent agenda. And that's the way that you can do them all in one. If you approve the minutes separately, then you have to approve the agenda separately.
Okay, all right, so let's go back to the agenda then for today, August 2nd, and let's get that approved. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda for today?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All approved, say aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Okay, it looks like we don't have anything on our action agenda, so we will move right into our reports and talking about our tax increment financing, please.
Hey, thank you. So I'm just trying to keep you updated on all of this. If you go to the presentation, it's a longer presentation, but it's for you to essentially look through it. It just goes over what tax increment finance is, and then essentially how to get it going. And the way this tax increment program is, we're essentially waiving the rulemaking on it. So while it did get approved by the state legislature, we are waiting for essentially the state to issue rules on it. If you go to page 6 of the slide, okay, we'll get to that. It gets over an overview essentially of what it is. So you create these districts, and the key difference is that in other states, you can basically do a TIF district and it isn't really tied to projects. It's tied just solely to geographic areas. Here in this state, they changed it where it's basically tied to geography, but also projects within that geography. And you basically have to tie to the fact that the investment in infrastructure, that it would not otherwise occur. So you have to make an argument for that. And then you have to study for what the TIF would generate. If you go to page 7, page 7 of this slide goes over what essentially it can be used. And it can be used for streets and roads, water and sewer construction, pretty much in general infrastructure. And then also you can do energy efficiency and structures to these for economic development, as well as using this program to usher in investments to encourage historical preservation. Going to page 8. Okay, page 8 is some of the areas where I'm waiting for the state to issue rulemaking, and essentially essentially how large you can do a TIF district. This wouldn't be an issue if you could do it to however many projects, but within this bill, they put in language that essentially each jurisdiction can only do 2 tax increment finance areas. So that means when you establish them, they have to be like right, because that's all you get. They did put a cap on what the assess valuation of each like TIF would be. So just that you can't take in an area that would be over 20% of the total assessed valuation of a city. And then you can only essentially collect TIF from the state for the period of time necessary to pay for the cost of public improvements. The TIF district code here that allows for this economic development, a little different than other states. It's like a happy medium. Some states have it 20 years, others 30 years. The state decided to do 25 years. So that's good. Going into further slides, it just goes over essentially what the analysis would be when looking at doing a tax increment financing district. And then page 10 goes into the process of it. So having public hearings, submit to Office of State Treasurer, and then the newspaper, and then notice to County Treasurer and Assessor. Page 11 basically goes into the formulas for creating TIF, because again, you're banking this on the essentially the valuation you could potentially see as new development transpires, and then essentially using bank funds between levy districts and the state to essentially front end load that investment so you could do public infrastructure to make future development actually transpire. Page 12, going onward to 14, essentially just goes over a hypothetical of various development scenarios that could transpire over a TIF district. And then going further on within the slides, you'll just see a formula of essentially how it could work. And then page 22 just goes over some examples of, making sure you're very careful with the study because you want to essentially, you want to make sure you're banking enough to do public infrastructure, making sure it's large enough to do that, but then you don't want to overly make a expansive TIF, because then that can adversely affect bond ratings of agencies. And then again, just talking over the outreach, and while this isn't a panacea for everything, it is a new tool to essentially do economic development, so it's better than nothing. But we are awaiting rulemaking on TIF. So basically more to follow on this. We're waiting for the state treasurer and then Office of Financial Management to actually say how this is going to go down, because right now there's a lot of questions about this, how they're going to administer it, but not a ton of answers right now. And we're hoping that'll change soon. So that is what I have for now on this topic. Oh, Kelly, you're on mute.
Do we have any questions from anybody regarding this? Okay. I think we can move on to our city broadband update.
Okay, so city broadband update. I just want to give you an update on this. The past meetings, you all passed a resolution of support for various grant projects to further this. So I want to give you an update on where we're at with the various grants. So the state has put together a large grant where they're asking for money from the FCC and then this NTIA group that essentially supervises broadband across the country, where they're trying to put in a submittal statewide for various broadband projects to go. I was able to get our resolution and our ask for funds into our state broadband office, because each state has a broadband office, and then they're turning in these applications, FCC, NTIA. And then if they get funded, essentially what it would be is that the broadband rates would be publicly owned and they'd be leased to the private sector. Port of Whitman and Petrichor over in Whitman County, they're experts in this. So we have turned in that NTIA grant. So we're waiting to hear if it'll get funded through state broadband office. Likewise, there's also Public Works Trust Fund that we're looking at doing, as well as CURB. And then the latest thing, which is probably the biggest, the heaviest lift that's between the port and then both cities, is we are evaluating turning in an economic development administration grant. In fact, I just got off the call for it. They released this grant and it was with ARPA funds that went to economic development administration. And it's called a Build Back Better Regional Challenge. And what it essentially does is if you create a bunch of projects around target industries, you can turn in an application and then EDA will evaluate it. And if you get chosen as one of them, they're willing to essentially give you $500,000 toward the study to further your target industries. And then if that study looks like something that can be implemented, they're given cluster awards for regional coalitions for up to between 25 to $75 million a piece. And the lead on that is the applications need to be due in September. And what we're looking at doing is there's going to be a discussion with the community college about maybe if we can ask this to help fund like a cluster having to do with bringing back like carpentry and the trade programs into the community college, and then essentially leverage the money for implementation to build that back up, plus do broadband, and then is an implementation piece of bringing students back into carpentry and the trades, develop a program with our developers for essentially housing and building homes. So Elizabeth Chamberlain over at City of Walla Walla, and then I also working with Commissioner Kelly at the Port of the Walla Walla. We're working on trying to get a large application together because quite a bit of money where we could achieve a lot of things with it. It's like one-time money. So if you all hear in various circles about an EDA application for Build Back Better, specifically mention this, Doug, and then also Kyle at the chamber, that's what we're talking about. We're looking at maybe trying to do several things with it to leverage it for a variety of projects. It's just they just announced this last week and the turnaround time is really quick on it. So we're scrambling to get it done. So that's that grant program. And then although it's smaller, we did get a AARP grant to actually do public Wi-Fi with Pocket iNet around some of our city parks. So we could actually have some free 5G internet around Lions Park, Kiwanis Park, and Veterans Park. That was announced late last week. So that's a new grant we got. And that'll help pay for that. So a lot of stuff moving around in the broadband spectrum, but I thought you'd all want an update on that. Any questions?
No, that sounds excellent. Any other comments? Okay, well, let's move on to the flex
Yeah.
building study.
Kelly, just real quick, there seems to be a lot of feedback when Mike's talking. I don't know if that, maybe try everybody going on mute or something, but I don't know, Mike, just an FYI.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, can we move on then to the building, the flex building study, please?
Yeah, so for Flex Building Study, as you know, this is another grant that we received from the State Department of Commerce, their Community Economic Revitalization Board. And I just have this before you. It's not a finished product, it's a draft product, but this explores the concept of if the city went in partnership with the port, or even if we did it alone, as far as developing like a flex space to help with our industries, because there's not a lot of vanilla shell space that can be used for manufacturing and then the food processing. And what this starts to do is it says what are the key target industries where there's a market for it. So some manufacturing, healthcare, food and beverage, high tech, and warehousing. And then it explores some sites in which one could essentially do this type of development. So there were 3 sites identified. One is the far western end of Martin Airfield property. The other option is property to the southeast of Rose Street in Damson. It's known as the Guglielmelli property. And then the third one is that site that the Rural Library District owns on College Avenue, if there's a potential partnership there. But you'll see the various numbers and essentially site summary. Page 21 has a site summary of the various properties available, and they all have some strengths and weaknesses. I would say the one that has like some of the strongest ones as far as already having like utilities run out to it would be the Guglielmelli one, because there's essentially urbanized development on both sides. But then Martin Airfield, that's the one where you could have the widest array of uses, but there's no infrastructure essentially going out to it. So this is essentially a baseline for what those various properties are. And then next, they're essentially coming up with pro formas on all of them, and then identifying what would be the one to really drill down in. We're actually having a meeting with the port tomorrow to discuss that. I just want to give everyone a heads up. The one we're really going to look at doing potentially doing a drill down in to see what would be the validity of putting a development like that out there would be like on the Guglielmelli property, because a lot of our utilities are already stubbed out to that. Reason being, as far as why we're trying to narrow down what would be a one we think has highest marketability, is because within that grant, there is also grant money to do like a very basic level like site and building design too. So that's why we're trying to really hone in on this. What is the one that has like the most legs to it that could potentially happen? But this is a draft of what they have right now. If anyone has any heartburn over what you see, please let me know, because we're going to be having deeper level discussions on this with the port tomorrow.
Kelly, you're on mute.
Okay, are there any questions or comments on that? All right, and Bruce, does it help when I put myself on mute as far as the feedback goes?
Yeah,
From
that really, I think that did the trick. It was great. Thank you.
Okay, all right. If there's no questions, can I go back to the, we'll go back to the Goodwill groundbreaking tomorrow,
Yep.
Mike?
Yeah, throwing it out there for everyone, let us or Marcy, who's their contact, know if you wanted to go. But I mean, keep in mind, if you need to let Lisa know too, just, well, actually at this point it's tomorrow, so we can't even we can't have quorum. So I mean, basically it would be like maybe 2 people going, but the fact of the matter is that the groundbreaking for Goodwill is tomorrow finally over at 1017 Northeast C Street. As you can see, it's a much larger facility than what exists in downtown Walla Walla. And once this is constructed, it'll ultimately replace it. So I want to make sure that this was on folks' calendars just so you have situational awareness. I believe Kelly's going to this, but it's a big deal. We're finally at the point where they're going to break ground on this.
Oh, this
Yep.
is exciting. Is there anybody else that is able to go or has any questions?
Yeah, I'm planning to be in attendance representing the Chamber of Commerce, so I'll definitely be there.
Okay.
I'm planning on being there also.
Awesome. Anyone else?
I was going to be there. I have it on my calendar. I'm just unable to stand up for a long time. I'm having some hip surgery in a couple of weeks, so I'm kind of gimping around.
Okay.
And
Okay.
it sounded like something where we wouldn't be seated for long periods of time, so I'm gonna have to bail.
Can I just
Gotcha.
ask that those of you that are in attendance do not gather together?
Okay, so they want us to stand like 6 feet apart?
No. At least 4 of you have said you're coming, and that's a quorum. And I don't have adequate time to notify of a quorum. So please don't gather and speak with each other during that.
Okay. Well, and I don't have to come either. It's,
Well,
Yeah.
Kelly, you should though, because I mean, you're the chair now since Jeff isn't chair anymore. So you're the chair of this body.
I think as long as you're not gathered together, there can't be any perception that you're discussing city business. So I think you'll be fine.
okay. Okay. All right. Well, yeah, and I didn't realize, I'm sorry that I was the chair now, but I am happy to do whatever I need to do.
Yep.
Okay. So looks like we know who all will be there tomorrow. Let's move on to our State Department of Commerce update, please.
Okay, so the Department of Commerce director, she puts out a newsletter every month or so, and there's 2 things I wanted to bring to your attention. There is essentially a flex loan fund that the state has for folks going through issues due to COVID from a small business perspective. So that's just some information on that, where small businesses and nonprofits can borrow up to $150,000 and can be used on payroll, rent, supplies, and all of that. The other thing I wanted to mention, just to give a heads up on, is there was reference in the newsletter that they are going to do a 5th round of the Work in Washington grant money for small businesses. So please watch for that because it's not, from what I'm hearing from folks, it sounds like there'll be some sort of an announcement coming out on that within the next month or 2. And it'll be one of those things where it's a tight turnaround again. So beware of that. It'll be grant money again.
Okay. Well, thank you, Mike, for the heads up on that. I appreciate that. Are there any comments or questions on that? Okay, well, let's move on to our Mercy Corps program update, please.
Okay, thank you. So with Mercy Corps, as you know, we end up getting grants to cover additional seats for College Place residents. Since it is a CDBG program, Mercy Corps has to turn in a report that goes over things once a quarter, and this grant's actually good for 2 years. So we can cover essentially 2 groups of seats into this program. So page 2 gives you a little synopsis of the improvements and things about this program. And then page 3 and 4 goes into essentially participants within this program. And then you'll see that there's a variety of businesses, both in Walla Walla and College Place, but College Place has increased representation due to the grant money. And right now we have about 4 current ones within the cohort, and then we'll have availability for about 9 other seats in the next cohort. I will say the city of Walla Walla, which helps Mercy Corps execute this program, there's this a little bit of catch up to do because Jennifer Beckmeyer, who was the CDBG coordinator and basically helped create this program, she actually left the city of Walla Walla, and they're backfilling that position, but just something to be aware of. But yeah, as you can see, our participants from College Place have increased, so that's a good thing.
Do we have any questions or comments on the Mercy Corps? Okay, well, let's move on then to our traffic box art wraps.
Okay, thank you. So P1FCU, which is a credit union in town, they agreed to sponsor the last group of traffic wraps. So we essentially have 7 traffic boxes to still cover. They've agreed to pay for the 7. And submissions were due end of the day on Friday. And attached here, you can see what the submissions look like. So there will be an ad hoc grading process to determine which ones are the ones that will be chosen, because chosen entries will get a $350 stipend from the P1FCU credit union. And then plus they have their art on a wrap for years to come. I will say the exciting thing about this go around compared to the past ones had artists from pretty much every other community around here except College Place. And this go around, we actually had quite a few artists from College Place. So that was a nice change. I just want to throw it out here just with the ad hoc committee, if there's essentially interest from anyone in helping to grade these.
Well, I for one would be interested in that. Are there any of our board members that would be interested in helping with grading these? They look very, very well done to me.
I'd be happy to help. It's Bruce.
Okay, great.
I'd be
well-
willing to help too if you need it.
Great, excellent. Well, I will definitely send that out to you all. What I'm trying to do is with this ad hoc committee I get together, I try to get basically 1 or 2 people from a couple of the commissions, and then Art Walla as well. And then diversity board, I try to get someone from that, and then park board, and then ultimately rank which ones are the best, and then it goes to council for ultimate approval. But I'll send that out because I'm trying to get the gradings done by the end of this week, if at all possible. Main reason being is that I really would like to get these installed in time for Winterfest, because we didn't really have anything. for our 75th anniversary last year because of COVID, and we want to do a little bit of a bigger Winterfest, but the lead time that company that makes the traffic wraps, the lead time they need to essentially install it and make them and then install it before it gets too cold where it would sacrifice the quality of the installation. We need to get it into them as soon as possible. So,
Right, right. A question, now, is that 350 per,
yeah,
or, okay,
yep, yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah, so whoever are the top 7 of them will get a $350 stipends directly from P1FCU.
I see, I see. Okay. And speaking of Winterfest, I don't know, this may be a little bit off the agenda here, but have we rescheduled the Freedom Fest yet?
Lisa?
Not going to.
Okay.
We
Okay,
were unable to coordinate enough of the schedules, so we're going to move forward with our fall event and Winterfest.
okay. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. Are there any questions from the board regarding the traffic box art wraps?
I just want to clarify, so I have Commissioners Lean, Moorhead, and Fuchs going to be on the ad hoc committee for grading, correct?
That is correct.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. Okay, let's move on to our urban forestry plan, please.
Okay, I just put this on the agenda to bring awareness because historically the city never really did anything with trees or urban forestry in general. But we did get a grant to do an urban forestry plan where we had people go out and locate every tree in our city parks and then arterial roadways. And then also identify the condition of the trees and then maintenance plan for them. Now we still need to do a follow-up plan to trees that are on local roads because we didn't have enough grant money to do the local ones. But this covers the parks and then busier streets like College Avenue, Whitman, Rose, 12th, things like that. The other caveat I just want to put out there to the business community, just because someone did this, I'm not going to go in who, it's no one on this board, but I just want to put it out there that for the newer trees that like are on any of our big street projects that the city invested money into, like College Avenue and Rose Street, if you have any issue with the trees either encroaching signage or your property or something like that, please call Public Works. Because Public Works, I had them go through a tree pruning class offered by the state. And especially at the newer trees that are on College Avenue and Rose Street, there's a certain way you have to do them. Otherwise, you can end up killing the tree. So please, on those newer trees, do not cut them on your own accord. Give Public Works a call and they will get it on their maintenance list and take care of it because especially trees that are in the grates like on College Avenue, if they get to a point where they end up dying, it's very hard to essentially get one of a similar age back in there and then get it healthy again. So please, if any of them need maintenance on those newer areas that were redone, please call Public Works and don't do it on your own accord.
Okay, good point. And is there a way that can we let the other businesses know about that?
Yeah, definitely. As you're talking to folks, let them know because that I would say that is most important on College Avenue and Rose Street and Lamperty, since those are where our newest trees are at. The older ones aren't as big of an issue because they've taken root and they're good. But those newer ones, I mean, if they're a couple of years old and you do it the wrong way, you can end up killing the whole tree. And I can tell you from signing the bills on them, those are very expensive trees. So that's not a
Yeah.
good thing.
Yeah. Well, they're very nice trees. They add a lot to our streets.
Yeah, so please tell anyone and everyone because we need to be vigilant about that.
Okay. Definitely. Okay, any questions or concerns on that? All right, let's move on to our development tracker.
Okay, thank you. I'll go over the ones where things have changed on them. There's a lot of other ones where they're still doing site evaluation, but there are a couple of new ones. So Project CK, that's the gas station one that they have gotten a relatively new real estate development team, and they're re-reviewing the sites, but it's looking promising for the 12th and Myra area. The other weird one, which actually came from the chamber, is something I'll call Project Chocolate, and they're looking at relocating to the Walla Walla area, and there's actually an interest in one of the lots surrounding Hot Thief. Which would be very interesting if it could go over there, because if we get two things, that's probably going to finally trigger the hotel that we've been trying to get anchored in that area. Project Dominic, that's actually an existing business in Walla Walla, and just due to the nature of the traffic over around Plaza Way, they're doing some evaluation as far as if they want to re-sign a lease or go over in this direction. So we will see. Project HM, College Avenue corridor, they're still working to edit the plans. FM, that's really waiting on just sewer availability. Project BK, I thought I changed the actual name of it, but that is the Burger King. It is coming. So we're working with them and getting all that up to snuff. Project W&D, a lot of these areas, they're starting to get their real estate people back because a lot of them were actually laid off during COVID. So a lot of the stuff just like throws out. Project page 6, Project Flight Martin Airfield. We're just waiting to see what transpires out of the zoning change request the property owner has made to the county, because right now they're still out in the county. And then we're working to make sure that various things can be accommodated within our zoning code. Then Goodwill, they're groundbreaking, so that's great. Project 8, this is likely going to be a mixed use property development. So this is that property that was owned by the Bell family. It has changed hands and it's now owned by a developer that does mixed use development. So we are having that conversation. What is that going to look like? And then on Commercial Drive, it's called Project Medical, and it's another urgent care facility. It does not represent a medical provider currently in the valley, though, which is interesting. They're looking to make inroads in the valley. They're getting very serious about Commercial Drive, though. On the residential side, Homestead, we're continuing to work with them on their plans to get the right size homes going over on Dones, and that would be the more affordable housing basically to the east of Dones. So we're working with them on that. Villages of Fort Walla Walla. Trying to work with them on that. To be candid, there are some legal issues going on with the previous landowners and them, and that's what's throwing a wrench in things. They own their property. They're just trying to get out of what's going on at the moment, but it looks like it'll eventually go. It's just there's some delays to it. Country Estates, still working edits to their plans to put some additional manufactured housing. Sermon Development up at Spitzenberg, working with them on final edits to their drawings. Stone Creek Development, there's some pretty exciting movement there. On Craig Christensen's piece, there is a developer that won't be named out of Spokane that's potentially looking at buying up all of Craig's property and doing phases. So we've been meeting with them about what they'll look like, and we'll continue to. But that's exciting stuff. Hamby, the apartment construction up on top of the hill, that continues. Project Wallula, part of the issue there is that's going to require an urban growth area change, which the county needs to let us do. There is interest in doing cottage housing for developmentally disabled on some property adjacent to Sunset Villa, but only a quarter of it is in the UGA. The other 3/4 is not, and all of it would need to be. So yeah, this gets back to the argument that we need to have with the county, which is, we need additional urban growth area to accommodate all your development via infill. That's not realistic. And then Whispering Creek, if you've been out on 8th and Whispering Creek Court, that's the Dan Priest development. Houses continue to get built there, so that keeps going. So that is a little status of where we're at for development in the city as of right now.
Well, this is exciting. I have one question regarding Project Chocolate. Is that a restaurant and a retail business together, or are those two separate businesses?
From what I understand, it sounds like it's together, but their main thing is that they manufacture chocolate and then they sell it. And then they sell things that like have chocolate in it, in talking with the gentleman. Actually, at first they were looking at a site over in Walla Walla and they didn't really know we existed. But apparently somehow he found out about Hop Thief. So that's why he's looking over there. But primarily it's a manufacturer of like retail chocolate.
Oh.
Yeah,
No.
Kelly, he called over to the chamber and I talked with him for about 30 minutes. And like Mike said, a manufacturing facility with a kind of like a cafe in the front with the different products that they make, but would be great. It would be a really good fit in our valley. So we're working hard to make sure, hopefully he'll come over and do some site tours as well.
I mean, honestly, what it sounds, at least in talking with him, what it sounds like, and I don't know if anyone has ever gone to this place, but in Portland, there's like a chain of chocolate places called Moonstruck. It sounds like a little bit more of like a intensive version of Moonstruck.
Oh.
So.
Yeah, I've never heard of that, but this sounds interesting and it sounds like it would complement what we've already got going.
Yeah.
Here. Especially being right next to Hop Thief or in that area.
Well, and the thing is if we can get like a dining cluster going around Hop Thief where it's not just Hop Thief, that is finally going to push over the hotel that we've been wanting to do over there. Because that's always been the concern. Yeah, you have fast food, but people want stuff beyond that, and Hop Thief has started to frame that argument. I think we need another. And then the other issue too is that during this time of COVID, essentially starting back up our marketing efforts for a hotel out here, we basically have to start from square one, because you could name any hotel chain I've been in contact with, and literally all of their real estate development contacts got laid off and left.
Oh.
No, like literally every single person I was working with no longer works with any of them.
Oh my. So you've got to start from scratch.
Basically, yeah, because it's all new people. All people I worked with are no longer there. the messages I get when I would send stuff is saying they got laid off and no longer work there. So,
That's very sad.
yeah.
Well, yeah, that would be awesome if we could get that, if we can get them to do a tour site visit and we could get them on board, then that would just be a stepping stone to our hotel.
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. Any other comments or questions regarding our development going on? Okay. And Lisa, I have a quick question either for you now or afterwards, but I need to figure out how I can see if somebody raises their hands, because I have no way of seeing that. If somebody has a question.
That would be my fault. I will
Oh.
give you those rights for the next meeting.
Okay. I figured it was my lack of technology skills, but that will be great. And so now we just need a motion to adjourn the meeting. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
All right, and a second?
Second.
Awesome. Okay, well, are we all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Thank you guys very much, and we'll see some of you tomorrow.
You.